Hey, how you doing? Philip Clark here. I'm at the Manhattan Beach Comic Bug. Spirit of Independence signing. I'm here with Joshua Hale Fialkov, who is the creator and writer of Elks Run and Punks, among other things. How you doing, Josh?
Doing good. How you doing?
Good, man. How's the signing going for you?
It's going great. It's a lot of fun.
Excellent. So, how long have you been writing, and how'd you get into it? Do you have any formal training, or?
I do. I have I went to college for screenwriting and playwriting, and I'd sold a pilot when I first moved out here, and then the pilot fell apart. So I was kind of trying to find more work, and I just really wanted to write and really wanted to create stuff. And comics became kind of like a way for me to express myself and get to tell the stories that I wanted to tell in a way that, you know, allows me to make sure that every single page and every single image is exactly what I want, which is kind of a freedom that you don't get in any other medium. So
very cool. Now, where are you from originally?
I grew up in Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh, and you just recently came out to Los Angeles. You've been here for a while.
I've been here for about 6 years now.
Very cool. Can you give us a basic idea of what your books are about?
Yeah, Elks Run is about a small town in West Virginia where the parents and kids are at war with each other. It was nominated for 7 Harvey Awards. It's been featured in Entertainment Weekly and Variety, all over the place. And that's the graphic novel that just came out from Random House Books. Then Three Rivers is kind of like the thematic sequel to Elks Run. It's not actually a sequel, but it's kind of along the same lines. And it's about 2 kids growing up in a small suburb of Pittsburgh and kind of how they relate to each other at different ages, from the time they're 10 to the time they're 21 and adult. Basically. I haven't been able to come up with the actual explanation yet, but it's good. It's a good one. I'm getting there.
Nice.
And then there's Punks. Punks is a book I'm doing with Cody Chamberlain. Punks is sort of a sitcom on paper. We like to call it a sitcomic. Labeled it. And that's going to be in previews in next month, whatever that is, and should be in bookstores in July.
Comics by nature are not an extremely profitable medium. Writing comics, is that something you do full time now, or do you have a day gig that you hold down to make ends meet?
I did for a long time, but I make my whole living doing comic books right now.
How long have you been doing that?
I had a day job that was making up like maybe half of my income for a while, and then I finally got to a point where I'd rather live on less money but be able to do what I want all the time.
Yeah.
So I've been surviving, living on got my comic money for about 3 or 4 months now.
Wow. Now, what did you do before then to kind of make ends meet?
I've done everything. I worked at a lot of production companies. I worked at a sales job, at a bunch of marketing jobs. You know, so I've kind of done a lot of odds and ends. But when it comes down to it, it's really hard to excel at a day job when your passion and your career is in something completely unrelated. Nice.
Now, who would you say your primary influences are as a writer or a creator?
Mostly novelists, to be honest. Russell Banks is a big influence on me. Richard Matheson is probably the biggest. I mean, for pretty much anybody who writes horror in the modern age, Matheson is sort of the key to all that stuff. Chuck Palahniuk, all those guys. I think, you know, when you look at a combination of things, when you look at what people are doing in literature right now, and then when you look at what was being done in comics a few years ago and is still being done on the fringes, you see that there's this new creativity that's being really kind of channeled, where people are really starting to experiment with form and really starting to experiment with what each medium is capable of. And so I try, that's where I get a lot of my influence. Guys like Ed Brubaker, and of course what Bendis has done in Powers, and so on and so forth. Brian K. Vaughan, all those guys are doing stuff that's really different and really original and really unique, and that's sort of where I aspire to be. Right.
Now, you mentioned horror tales as your influence. Is that what you primarily like to do, or do you have any kind of genre that you like hanging around? Or?
No, I mean, everything I do has kind of a dark edge to it, no matter what. And that's the thing, when I talk about Matheson, is you read a lot of the Matheson short stories, and a lot of his stuff aren't really horror. But they all have this kind of dark, worldview, where there's always a glimmer of hope, but it's always just a glimmer. And that's kind of something that I try and do with my writing, where whether it's, a love story or whether it's a horror book, it's always going to have that kind of shifted eye on the world, so to speak.
Now, comics can be a pretty tough racket. What makes you stay in comics? I mean, what keeps you in the game, so to speak?
I really love the medium. I feel like of all the formats that I've written in, comics fits me and it feels very natural. And I think that, it has a lot of potential. It's really, comics have such an important part in American history. It's such an important part of our culture that, you know, we all understand it. Even, you know, someone who's never read a comic book before can pick one up and understand what it is and how to read it, which is something that's so kind of unique and weird. It's pretty amazing. You know, it's really a pretty special thing and a special part of our culture. And just being a part of it is pretty amazing.
Nice. Now, you have any advice that you would give to an aspiring creator wanting to get into this business, or?
Just take little steps. You know, you need to learn. You know, a lot of people think like, oh, well, you know, I can write a good short story, or I can write a good poem, or I can write a good whatever. Therefore, I can obviously write comics. And comics actually is, you know, it has its own tricks. It's its own medium, and you really do need to take the time to actually learn it. And doing things, you know, gradually, so that you're not getting yourself trapped in it and getting yourself, you know, beyond what you're capable of before you know that you're capable of it. So just take your time and really get to know it and find stuff you like and find the people that you like and surround yourself with them.
That's great, man. And if anybody wants to find out more about what you're doing, get your projects, where can they go online to maybe find you?
Horseandbuggy.com, horse with an A, like your throat.
Excellent. Great, Josh. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much.
All right.